It's the mop, not the wop. What's going on, good people? I'm back at y'all with another one. And next up, we got Most Scandalous Los Angeles posing the question: was Keefe D framed for the Tupac murder? And I know we've all seen DJ Vlad and all the countless interviews where Keefe D did, gave it all up. But I'll let y'all know, Most Scandalous Los Angeles is no slouch when it comes to his investigative journalism. So if he's posing this question, it ain't for nothing. I'm not gonna ramble y'all. We're gonna get straight to the content. Let's do it.
Welcome back to Scandalous Los Angeles TV, where we expose the exposers. Today, we are talking a little bit about Keefe D and the completely orchestrated setup that he is caught in right now. In this country, seeing a black man get railroaded and incarcerated for a crime he had absolutely nothing to do with is about as American as apple pie.
Which was the importance of Andre Sparks, because they had Stone name, my name, Sparks name, and so Sparks caught a murder and went to jail first. He was the first one.
This guy we just talked to?
Yeah, Andre Sparks, that's what he did 28 years for. And some shit he didn't even do.
It happens so often that it barely even registers as a big deal to the public anymore when we see it happen. Just look at the Orlando Anderson situation. The official story they try to feed everyone is that he was killed right at the car wash.
For the record, y'all, Orlando Anderson is that's who was alleged to have shot and killed Tupac.
But the Compton police actually let us know that he didn't die at the car wash at all.
When they say the shooting happened there at the car wash hamburger stand off the Alonzo and Willowbrook, that area. But he was found on the one street just over. Yeah. And the first person on the scene, Randy, was Reggie Wright.
That's that.
First person, man. And he was shocked when he saw myself and Pilcher there at first. The first unit to show up, undercover narcotics officers.
Oh.
You know, I did not know. Yeah, and
you heard that right. Reggie White was the first officer on the scene.
He was dead. They shot him up good. That's why I say there's conspiracy there where possibly he followed and called, okay, he's over here. Let's do him in. Let's get it done.
Wow.
All right. So then there's another write-up that Ray Richardson got a dying declaration from Orlando Anderson. And
what he said, I killed Tupac.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay.
So while Reggie Jr. was busy putting all of Knight's property in his name, news came that Mr. Knight may be appealing his case. The problem was that Orlando Anderson may not be a friendly witness this time. Knight was granted an appeal in April of 1998. But by then, Orlando Anderson had done several interviews on television denying charges against him. And 2 months before that, in February of 1998, Anderson actually did a deposition on the accusations. It looked like Anderson was not going to be as cooperative as he had been.
From 1995 to date, have you ever ridden in a white Cadillac?
No.
Do you know anyone who owns a white Cadillac?
No.
So Knight appeals, and that was April of 1998. And Death Row realizes Anderson may not play ball. Guess what happens the very next month?
Yo, this shit is getting dark. I told y'all, Most Scandalous Los Angeles does not come to play. If he poses a question, it's for a reason. Damn, I didn't know any of this shit, y'all. This is getting sticky.
In that incident, 3 people lost their lives. Orlando gets found around the corner, and surprise, surprise. Who is the very first person on the scene? Reggie Wright Sr. But listen to how the official story goes. According to them, Orlando pulled up to the spot with Michael Doro, Little Owl from Southside. They get there, get into an altercation with the 2 Stones, and apparently, all 3 of them end up shot. The 2 brothers are shot, and Orlando is shot. But here is the wildest part of the whole thing. Currently, right now, as we're speaking, at this very second, Little Owl is incarcerated for the murder of all 3 of them.
Okay, do you know the situation around Orlando's actual murder?
Yes, we handled that case along with Detective Aguirre.
What happened?
We were basically, where he got killed was probably 6 blocks from the police station in Compton. It was right next to Compton High. There's this car wash right there. We were in the back lot of our station. We just heard a barrage of probably 30 shots go off, and right just south of us. So we're all jumping in our car heading that way anyway. What had happened was Orlando's grandmother had passed away the night before. And apparently he had been drinking all night with one of his best friends, Michael Doro. And they went over to a place called Mom's Burgers across the street from the car wash to get something to eat. Well, he sees a guy that owes, from another gang in Compton, a Crip set in Compton, that owes his uncle and his friend DeAndre, I forget if it was $5,000, $10,000, somewhere in there about $5,000, over some cocaine. Yeah. So he decides, because they've been drinking and everything else, they got a gun in the car, they're gonna go over and jam him up about the money he owes. Well, this guy's from another gang in Compton called Corner Pocket, and some of the other Corner Pocket gang members were there, and they started coming up, like, hey, what's this all about? Why are you jamming him up? And next thing you know, Orlando pulls out a gun and shoots 2 of the Corner Pocket persons that are there, or shoots one of them right away, and then another Corner Pocket guy starts shooting back at Orlando, and pretty much hits him dead center. I mean, he wasn't alive much longer after that. His partner that was in the car with Orlando took the gun and then started shooting back and ended up shooting another corner pot guy that shot Orlando. They went around the corner, crashed the car, and we were pulling up there when Orlando was being pulled out of the car. The other guy took off running, dumping the gun. And we're waiting for paramedics, and one of our partners, Ray Richardson, was over there talking to Orlando, and he was basically taking his last breaths at that time.
I just want to cut in there and say this is their version of events. And notice how they got that shit been so long ago, they roll that bitch off their tongue. You know what I'm saying? I just pay attention to shit like that. They got the backstory down pat. Yeah, this shit happened over almost 30 years ago. And you mean to tell me they just remember that shit because they seen it? I know see some more vicious shit than that. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, y'all. Let's get to it.
And two of the persons at the gas station that they were shooting at also died that day. So it was a triple murder, and it was all dope related.
Had nothing to do with Tupac.
Nothing to do with Tupac.
Because when you heard of Orlando getting killed a year later, the first thing you thought was, oh, this is retaliation.
Oh, I've seen things on the internet and everything else about people that were there and what it was. I mean, we were there. We handled it. Right. You know, we went to court on it. We convicted this.
I'm going to back it up. I want y'all to look at that shit again. Look how you look over. We were there. We handled it. Reggie Wright was first on the scene. Y'all handled it all right. I get the inclination that Lil Al wasn't supposed to make it. Everybody, man, let's go.
The internet and everything else about people that were there and what it was. I mean, we were there. We handled it. Right. You know, we went to court on it. We convicted the survivor for all three murders.
If you go back to Suge Knight's trial,
we didn't convict the killer. We convicted the survivor. And that's the law. If you, whoever lives through the crime, motherfuckers die, you get charged with it. But pay attention, y'all.
We all know what happened. It is quite literally on videotape. Even though Suge ran over Terry Carter, I think most logical people can agree that was never his intent that day. The camera footage clearly shows he is being attacked. He is in fear for his life. He takes off running and accidentally hits Terry Carter. But when Shugi was in court, I watched the way those judges treated him. They weren't listening. They wouldn't even let him see his lawyers. I watched all the injustices piling up just to railroad him into that sentence. They even went after his fiancée and threw her in jail for 3 years. First, they squeezed her with a conspiracy charge and put her on probation just for leaking that TMZ video of Suge and Terry Carter. Then, they set the trap. They hit her with a probation violation and locked her up for 3 whole years just because she helped him arrange some phone calls with a documentary crew. They used the fine print to take 3 years of her life. And I told myself right then, if they can do that to him, they can absolutely do that to me.
And that's, I ain't even gonna say it, but it's a dirty game, y'all. It's a dirty game. And they'll stop at nothing to pull off whatever it is they trying to do. And they got, you know what I mean, unlimited resources. They can use Vlad. Wait, I'm gonna hold that for later.
The reason it's so easy for the system to do this to us is because not too many people say anything. And when nobody speaks up, they just keep running the same plays over and over again. This YouTube channel might not be a massive network, but it is my way of trying to help somebody that needs it. When I look at the situation with Keefe D, I have to put myself in his shoes. If I was sitting in a cell, unable to fight for myself, watching the system do me dirty, I would pray that somebody out there was saying something for me. This is so much deeper than Keefe D. If they can do this to Suga, a man who had money, status, and brushed shoulders with the elite, they will not hesitate to do it to you.
Now I know what you're saying. What the fuck Keefe D talking about, man? You sat up there in that damn in them interviews and in that book and every other platform, and your desire to be glorified caused you to be crucified. A long live sinful for that one right there. But I know what you're saying. But like I say, man, most scandalous Los Angeles don't be talking just to be talking. If he's saying this shit, it's for a reason. Let's see what's going on.
Period. Look at what just happened recently overseas in Israel. Some IDF soldiers were caught on camera committing heinous acts against a hostage.
Israel is facing a political storm over a leaked video from Sdit Iman, one of its most notorious detention sites. The video appears to show soldiers raping a Palestinian detainee inside the facility. The CCTV video from July 2024 was aired on Israeli television, causing public outrage and eventually led to criminal charges against 5 soldiers.
They were brought to trial and arrested. But what did the people out there do? They went and started banging on the jailhouse door.
However, far-right ministers in the Netanyahu administration and many Israeli citizens defended the soldiers' actions and even protested against taking any legal action against them. Now, Israeli authorities have opened a criminal investigation, but not into the alleged rape itself, but into the leak. On October 31st, Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, Israel's top military lawyer, resigned, admitting she was involved in leaking the footage to expose misconduct. 2 days later, Tomer Yerushalmi was declared missing, prompting a large search north of Tel Aviv. She was later found alive and taken into custody, along with the former chief military prosecutor, as part of the inquiry into the leak. Top Israeli officials have defended the crackdown. Defense Minister Israel Katz said the leak, quote, created a blood libel against Israeli soldiers. Far-right ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich accused the whistleblowers of damaging Israel's image abroad. Meanwhile, on November 3rd, the accused soldiers appeared masked outside a Jerusalem court saying, quote, instead of appreciation, we received accusations. They promised they would attain justice and will win because there's only one truth. Rights groups say Steve Man has a long record of alleged torture, starvation, and sexual violence against Palestinian detainees. A petition to close the facility remains pending before Israel's High Court.
That is how serious it was to them. They moved together on one accord. We need that exact same kind of unity. But we need to use it to stand up for things that are right. Because one day it might be you, who they try to put in that trick bag. So with all that being said, let's take a look at Keefe D and the Tupac murder case. The murder that he is literally sitting on trial for as we speak. And of course the murder that DJ Vlad proudly takes the credit for solving.
All right, here we go. Greg Kading, welcome back to Vlad TV. Hello.
Rampart, that's a Rampart cop. That's one of the dirty cops. Important piece of all this shit. He play into a lot of shit, y'all. I've been telling y'all about him since the beginning of this channel. Don't let me ramble. Let's go.
It's been some years.
Yes, it has.
A lot has happened. And since the last time you were here, Keefe D has been arrested for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now, I've done a bunch of interviews during that time, and I've said I've essentially solved the Tupac case, which you had a little bit of an issue with.
You know, I have to say the Keefe D interview. I mean, you can't just not mention that because I feel that single-handedly answered everyone's questions about how your homie Tupac passed away. I think after watching that, no one could really run with anything but that.
That they've been saying this shit for years that this shit was a conspiracy, and I ain't gonna lie, the way that Most Scandalous is laying this shit out, I'm seeing it. I also say this, maybe I'm tripping, but it seems like Vlad didn't get cool with Wack or having him on his platform or any of that shit until it became clear that they were working on the same team. You know what I'm saying? I hope this shit ain't going over y'all head. Let's go.
Only first-hand account.
Vlad really tried to say there was only one first-hand account, acting as if Marion Knight wasn't physically sitting right there. Marion has given us his account multiple times, and he has consistently let us know that Orlando Anderson did not pull the trigger. So why is Vlad trying to ignore the man who was actually in the car?
But you already know. I mean, people will run with something else, but you already know. At the end of the day, people out there that's like, nah. Yeah, right. You know, I know who did it. Right. And
Classic example. We ended up getting a lot of press about how Malcolm Greenidge said he could identify the shooter. We finally tracked him down to set up a re-interview. And he says, I'm not going to look at any photos because I can't identify him. Yeah, we got beat up in the LA Times over that. You know? And I'm thinking, okay, put up or shut up, Ace. And, well, but again, Reggie Wright Jr. is the one that brought him to that interview.
Right. And the important part is that
Reggie White Jr. again. He didn't include that clip about them Israeli motherfuckers for nothing, dog. Don't let that shit go over your head. Open your mind up. Easy. Open your mind up.
his story also perfectly matches up with everyone else who was there.
Yeah, I mean,
including you.
You just gotta have
Chris
intelligence,
and so forth. So I think that ultimately, I feel like kind of solved. Even though people like you already knew, for the public, I feel it ultimately solved that unsolved case.
DJ Vlad, a major commentator in the hip-hop industry for years, mentioned that police in Las Vegas asked him to help their investigation after he interviewed Keefe D for his own show. Well, DJ Vlad joins me now. DJ Vlad, thank you very much indeed for joining the show.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Vlad ain't the feds. He's so much worse. I'm not saying he's CIA, that's some different type of shit, but a asset, CIA asset, very plausible. Let's go.
I know you've studied this case for so long, and these interviews that you did with Keefe D, they've turned out to be extremely significant in this investigation, leading, in fact, to him being arrested and indicted. When you heard that news, how did you feel?
Well, I mean, the goal wasn't really to get anyone arrested. It was really just to get the truth of the matter. The story about Orlando Anderson killing Tupac I've known since around 2007. So this was essentially the worst kept secret in LA. Everyone knew about it, but there were no arrests, there was no convictions, there was no anything, there was no actual proof. There was a lot of conspiracy theories around it. So around 2008, when I first heard the Keefe confession tapes that Greg Kading got,
So, Vlad just let it be known that this whole thing didn't start with Keefe D randomly deciding to go out and write a book, or Keefe D just doing interviews for the fun of it. Vlad said he heard the actual confession tape that Greg Kading had.
Well, the last thing that Reggie Wright wanted you to touch on, and I guess we talked about this on the show before, Keefe D's confession.
We get so much of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've talked about it many times. One question I do have about Keefe D confession is, why did it get leaked? Did you leak it? And that information being out there puts Keefe D in a very dangerous situation, something that he didn't even know he was being recorded at all the entire time. So how did it become public, this confession?
So when we sat down with Keefe D, myself, the FBI, Keefe D's lawyer, we sat down and did what's known as a proffer agreement, and he divulged all of the details about what took place in Las Vegas the night Tupac was shot. At that point in time, we're just going through the investigative, kind of investigative process until I retired, and I came to the realization that these crimes, the public is never going to know what we did in this investigation and the information that we attained. And so I took it upon myself to say, listen, and I went and met with Keefe D before I did it, by the way. He knew that I was releasing the information. I went to his house, we sat in my truck, and I said, here's the deal. You're never going to probably get prosecuted on this, but I'm going to expose what you did. And I said, I'm just letting you know ahead of time. I'm writing a book, and I'm going to tell the story. And listen, you got a huge break on the dope case that we built against you, which was 25 to life. You're walking away on a murder. So if the punishment for you is that the public knows the truth about what you did, well, then that's just the fucking way it's going to be.
Now, I just want to slip this in there. This is Greg Kading, Rampart Division, Dirty Cop. This is his version of what the conversation between him and Keefe D went like. This is what he said. This is what he said, and this is how he said it went. Don't let that go over your head either.
I thought it was a smart move on his part because he knew that no one's going to go to jail, no one's going to prison, no one's getting indicted, and I get to go home. Exactly. But still, I'm talking about the way the public will perceive him. Right. One, you told. And two, now we know for sure you killed my favorite rapper in the world.
Well, hate me for that. Hate me for that. But
when you and I speak one little negative thing about Pac, they go in on us.
They do.
Now imagine how they're feeling about Keefe D.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
So you kind of put him out there on those two things. Which,
and let's not forget, Mob James. What Mob James, Vlad brought him on. You know what I'm saying? And all this was character support for the channel, for motherfuckers to be like, all this valid. And what came out about Mob James? Oh, yeah, FG. Shout out to FG. Let's go.
I did.
Which could actually get him killed if he's not careful.
Yeah, and I'm not sorry I did it. You know, he's who he is. I told him what I was going to do. His response was, "Oh, fuck it then. I'm a gangster. I'll handle that shit." That's exactly what he told me. And
if you believe that.
I said, okay, well, that's your decision. That's your life. That's you. Go do you. I'm telling the world what the fuck happened because this story is more important than you. In fact, I think this story is more important than your life. I think this story is more important than your life. I think this story is more important than your life.
And this right here is exactly how Keefe D got railroaded into this entire situation. Think about the timeline. He goes in, gives them the proffer, and they promise him he has immunity. After all that is done, he goes back to minding his business. Then, out of nowhere, Greg Kading calls him up and says, "Hey man, you might want to watch out, because I'm getting ready to put out that tape. I'm writing my own book and telling the world everything you did." So Keefe D is sitting there like, wow, you're about to put all my business out in the streets, and there is absolutely nothing I can do to stop you. I need you guys to really understand this dynamic, because everybody loves to point the finger and say, Keefe D talked too much. No, Keefe got railroaded. He only started speaking on this publicly because he firmly believed he was protected by that immunity, and the very same cop he confided in told him he was about to publish a book detailing every single word he said anyway.
Then I found out there was a book. I didn't like that book. That was about to come out. I got a hold of Keefe D and his co-writer. Man,
just look at this guy, right? That don't strike you as odd? This is a face of hip-hop. This is a face of the journalism in hip-hop. That shit don't look odd to you? I mean, that explains why he cut his sheets, chopped all that wolf hair, all that fur off his face and shit. It don't look so crazy these days, but I don't know, man. Look, you don't judge a book by its cover, but you also don't just disregard the data points that you're visualizing.
And the Vlad thing, the lady's getting $150,000.
So watch how this entire play develops. First, Greg Kading calls him up and says, "Hey man, I'm putting the video out." Once that happens, somebody else gets in Keefe's ear and tells him, "Look, Greg is already writing a book and putting all your business out there anyway. You might as well write your own book and at least get paid for your own story." And then, right on cue, who comes knocking? Vlad TV. They reach out and offer him $150,000 to sit down in front of the cameras and do those exact interviews everyone is talking about today. Do you guys see how this setup works?
And we scheduled an interview, and we just went from there.
I mean, he appears to have incriminated himself in this interview, certainly the last one. Did you believe he was doing that as you interviewed him?
Well, I think that he believed that he had a level of immunity.
Yeah, and you have to ask yourself why he even thought he had a level of immunity to begin with. It is simply because Greg Kading looked him in the face and told him he had immunity.
Can you take me through how you got Keefe D to cooperate?
Yeah, it's the kind of typical investigative strategy where you get somebody to where you have leverage on them. And once you have leverage on them, you introduce the scenario to them and let them make a decision whether or not they think it's in their best interest to cooperate. So that's essentially what we did. Built a drug case against him that was going to put him potentially in jail for the rest of his life.
and said, here's your opportunity to mitigate that situation and tell us the truth about what happened in Tupac's murder or Biggie's murder, whichever you happen to be involved in. And he agreed, his lawyer agreed, and there was a formal agreement between the U.S. Attorney's Office and Keefe D's attorney. And
they wrote me a script to follow. My lawyer came with a script, and it seemed like he was at everything the whole time.
Sat down and started the process of cooperating, and he enlightened us to the details as far as he knew them. It's a very complicated prosecution, based on the fact that so much time has passed. We don't get that information until 2009.
Very complicated prosecution. Y'all ran the long play. It's 2026. Talking about you got that in 2000. Man, bring your whole minds, audience. Please bring your whole minds and use that motherfucker. Pay attention to what's happening.
A lot of the witnesses and co-conspirators were dead. Keefe D is a convicted drug dealer, a known gang member. He's perjured himself before, so his own credibility will be in question. And now you're taking his information, and he has immunity in regard to his own confession. And he has immunity, and he has immunity, and he has immunity in regard to his own confession. And so now we can only go after co-conspirators, all of whom die, with the exception of Puffy.
When he did the proffer agreement.
And they were not allowed to record interviews. And so we were honoring that for Jeff, the FBI guy, with us, because he said he can't sit in if they're being interviewed unless he goes and gets special approval. And we weren't gonna wait around for that. His decision to surreptitiously record that interview is everything. I can't even tell you, I could never have done the book or any of these things. We wouldn't be here where we are today, honestly, I don't think, if he hadn't secretly recorded that entire interview.
I think the recording that I've listened to where Greg Kane just starts doing all the talking, that's not how a proffer session works on the federal side. I think the recording that I've listened to where Greg Kane just starts doing all the talking, that's not how a proffer session works on the federal side. In reading this transcript, once Detective Long leaves the room, they're completely leading Keefe on what to say and to stick to the story.
They wrote me a script to follow. My lawyer came with a script, and it seemed like he was at everything the whole time.
And not let Keefe speak freely, and instead they're putting words in his mouth to say this is what you need to state during this interview. In reading this transcript, once Detective Long leaves the room, they're completely leading Keefe on what to say and to stick to the story and not let Keefe speak freely, and instead they're putting words in his mouth to say this is what you need to state during this interview. If you stick to this story, you'll sleep well. If you don't stick to the story, you're not going to sleep well, and we're going to potentially cause problems for you, which is complete police coercion, which is crazy. It's not acceptable, obviously. It's hard to be believed, but I'm reading it, so yeah.
You just heard former FBI agent Phil Carson acknowledge that the LAPD coerced Keefe D's statement. This proves that the FBI is fully aware of the hidden truths surrounding this case.
Now he's pointing the finger at someone else. Chief Investigative Correspondent Erica Tursky has this ABC News exclusive.
We are meant to survive because it's a setup. The death of rap legend Tupac Shakur nearly 30 years ago became one of the nation's most notorious unsolved murders.
Hey, Keith, Metro Police, come over here.
Then in 2023, a breakthrough when prosecutors charged this man with ordering the hit, the only person arrested for Shakur's murder, who now tells ABC News authorities have the wrong man.
I'm innocent. I ain't killed nobody, never did, ever kill nobody. They don't have no evidence against me. Came to put me in Las Vegas.
61-year-old Dwayne Keefe.
You done played yourself, brother. Because according to your words, you did. And that's what happens when you make deals with the government. You make anybody, any nation, any race, any species on this fucking planet. You make a deal with this motherfucking government. They're going to fuck you. Guaranteed. So you sat up there and played their side, and they played you out. And that's what it is. I say I feel sorry. I don't feel sorry. It's a fucked up situation, but it is something. I just want y'all to be aware. My bad. Let's let Los Angeles or Most Scandalous finish up, and then we're gonna get up out of here.
D. Davis says the night of the murder, September 7th, 1996, he was in Los Angeles, 300 miles from the Las Vegas intersection where Tupac Shakur was gunned down.
Prove that I orchestrated this. You know what I'm saying? Your key witness orchestrated this.
Your key witness, Reggie White, the first one. Boy.
Witness is the lead suspect. They top witness is the lead suspect.
I think that Reggie has managed somehow to play everybody off against everybody else, and that includes law enforcement. He is he's an informant / suspect in all of these crimes.
The defense pointing to someone else, Reggie Wright Jr., a former cop and security guard for record mogul Suge Knight, who was driving the car Tupac was in the night he was shot. Wright has denied any involvement and has said it bothers me because I was in charge of possibly...
Reggie White got a whole bunch of grape streets in Memphis locked up in that Peter Roll case back like 12 years ago, too. On top of it, this is where he decided he was going to be a criminal, you know.
Protecting this young man.
But I think at the end of the day, ultimately, Reggie is and will be the fall guy at the end of the day.
Reggie is being set up as the fall guy, but we know the orders came from much higher up. They're going to pin all the blame on him. But we're aware of where the real problem started.
There's a lot of conversations going on all the time. Don't go to Vegas, don't go to Vegas, don't go to Vegas. Because at the time, there's a lot of trouble in Vegas, a lot of gangs in Vegas. Look, instinctively, I felt like there was trouble. What happened? I insisted they get real police. Because I didn't want to, I said, I just can't do this anymore. You know, it's just crazy. I come to the studio and there's all these guys and it doesn't feel like, you know. So next time I go, there's real police, right? Way after it ends, I found out they were Rampart guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had no idea. How am I supposed to know? You know. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm innocent or guilty. I'm just saying that it happened.
I think at the time he was saying that he had cancer, so maybe he didn't think he had much time to live. So he was just kind of letting it loose at that point. But you know, it was a little bit crazy that he actually sat down and we did everything. And when I asked him about it, sometimes he would try to dodge certain questions, but ultimately I used the book as a blueprint. So whenever a question wouldn't get answered, I said, well, the book said X, Y, and Z. And then at that point, he kind of went along with the, you know, what was written in the book.
I didn't write that book. Well, man, look here, y'all. Y'all see this shit. Now, we can't take the blame off of Keefe D. We understand the situation. He fucked himself thoroughly. I just want to say this. Shout out to Most Scandalous Los Angeles for giving us that uncommon information and providing them data points that we wouldn't have got nowhere else. Because I know y'all, I'm almost certain y'all wasn't familiar with this shit because all they keep telling us is the official authorized narrative that they ran on Vlad TV. And like I said, at the end of the day, Keefe D played his part in running that. Like I say, his desire to be glorified has caused him to be crucified. I ain't gonna ramble no more. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Like the video if you fucked with it. Hop in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you ain't already. And until next time, we gone.